an example. Oh, it's in the news everywhere. Give me one example. Sometimes we assume and we have been telling ourselves that one another is corrupt. Are we corrupt? If you know somebody who is corrupt, come, bring the person to Engineer Cullen, who will deal with the person as an institution. If you catch somebody and you know the person is doing it, and we have done some of them recently, Engineer Cullen, we have sanctioned people who have done the wrong thing as engineers in this country. We are informing all of you. The next time when we catch you, it will be on the website and the newspapers, like the lawyers.
No. And yes, that's true. If you come before me and you've done wrong, you will go. I just want to answer your question. Why are we not innovating? Nobody is challenging us. It's as simple as that. If you were being challenged, if you were dropped in the desert today and you had to survive, you use whatever is around you and you will survive. If engineers in this country are challenged, they will produce, they will innovate, they will do what needs to be done. I always give this example. AU, when Nkrumah announced that he wanted the AU in Ghana and he had given that promise to the African Union, I did because AU before it became OAU or something. Anyway, at that time, we didn't have a conference hall. We didn't have any accommodation for those who would come and stay. But Nkrumah had given his word. He'd made the announcement, and there were 10 months left for the conference. They had to start building that day. And it was Ghanaian engineers who designed, Ghanaians who constructed. In those days, it was SCC. And they did it in 10 months. And they had to innovate. And that was a 13-story building. And that was the highest we built for many years before anything higher came. And if we could do it in those days, why can't we do it now? Now, nobody has confidence in the engineers in Ghana. So anything, go and call outsiders. But meanwhile, it's being done in other countries. And it's even being done here. We heard about Ghana Gas. They just decided this is going to be done by engineers, and it was done. It's as simple as that. If you don't know how to do it, you will bring in the expertise, you will learn from them, and you will do it if you are forced to do it. If so, nobody challenges us, we will not innovate. Where children are left on their own, the young people, they are innovating. In areas when it comes to IT and so on, they are all innovating. They are doing so many different things because there's a need. There are so many people unemployed, they have to make money, they are innovating in so many ways. And that comes to another point, this thing. Please, the way we train our children, we do our best to kill any tendencies to innovate. They must go to school in uniform, behave this way. Everything is so regimented. They cannot question their teachers. Thank you. Haircut. What has your hair got to do with what you are going to learn? I always tell them that people who don't even wear uniform to school, they've gone to space. And you pretend as if there's something wrong with you as a Ghanaian child, especially the girls. There's something wrong with you. If you keep your hair long, you cannot be educated properly. I mean, where from that? When I was going to school, there was no rule. In fact, Ministry of Education has no rule like that. But you make them feel as if intrinsically there's something wrong with them being Ghanaian or being black and having the kind of hair we have. There's something wrong with them. So everything they see, that attitude goes into everything. When it's foreign, it's good. But when it's, Ghanaian, it's not good. So when something foreign comes, they don't even question it. It may be bad, but it came from a foreign consultant, therefore it's good. Because that is what we have trained them to think. And that's the way we brought them up. And I think that as an institution, there's a lot we can do. We should tell the government, and I'm glad there's a minister here, that this is not on. I mean, we need to give the children the freedom to develop, to be innovative, to be bold enough to challenge everything they see around them and question. If you don't question, how will you come up with a new and better way of doing the thing? If you don't question what's around you, you're never going to innovate. And we don't encourage children to question. So that's why we are not innovating. Challenge any engineer here to do anything within their field, and I bet you they will do it if they have to.
I think the politicians are taking a bashing. And I would like to stand in for my brother and myself. I think we, the engineers, we should take a good look at ourselves in the mirror. And I'm taking a note from the previous speaker. We are quick to hide behind politicians for our own failings and do wrong. In fact, most of the problems we face in our academic institutions, you go the struggle for power between these professors, you'll be shocked at the things that they do. So we shouldn't go around and put the blame on the politicians. I worked in the part of most of the blame is with we, the technocrats. I started my profession as a young civil engineer in Ghana Highway Authority. And I'm proud of what Ghanaians can do. In 1993, me and a colleague managed a close to $10 million housing project, Precious Fields, in Ashanti Gold Fields. We used Ghanaian contractors. We delivered in 11 months, complete, on time, on schedule, financed by Agence France Développement, AFD. In Obuasi, it's called Tiny Roland Estate. Those of you who know the estate will know. We did it as Ghanaians, and we were all brought up in tech, and we could do it. Let's have confidence in ourselves. And I think that the problem is with us. We want to ingratiate ourselves to politicians because we want a quick way up the ladder.
And there are several hands up, and the discussion is getting interesting. We are taking 5 more. The lady at the back, the 2 candidates for president-elect whose hands are up, they will get it. His hand had been up for the longest time, and then we'll prayerfully consider the last one.
Thank you very much. I'm Engineer Andrews Dankwa. I think we are talking about Engineer Andrews Dankwa, Kumasi Technical University. We are talking about innovation and entrepreneurship and how we can move the profession forward. I think one area that we can improve is the collaboration between industry and academia. I think the gap there is too much, and we need to close it up. Usually, I was privileged to work in industrial attachment capacity in where I'm working. And sometimes you go to an industry and you see, real problems. You know, nobody will tell you, look at it and you say, no, why have things deteriorated? And you realize that those of us in academia has got no idea of what is happening there. And so my suggestion as engineers, I believe some of us are in industry, some of us are also in academia, we need to have a better understanding. I think the institution can lead that, whereby we can have a proper collaboration. Because if the problem is there and academia doesn't know, then our minds will not be driven towards that. And all the science and technology that we have learned will go waste. And another thing that the engineer doctor at Asante, Kwame Boakye spoke about is something that has also been bothering me, is our manufacturing base, our industrial manufacturing base is so weak. It's so weak, especially for those of us in the mechanical, materials, electrical track. And we need to have a rethink. The institution should have a rethink about that. How best we can bring it up. I think it's something that is very, very, very low. I think capacity building in that area will be very good. There are brilliant ideas in establishing manufacturing centers. And then also, how can we become a part of the global supply chain of goods? Not necessarily the finished goods, but even at the intermediate level, so that we can all put into practice the engineering in the mechanical and the electrical field. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Somebody said we have engineers, some are in academia, some are in industry, some are in consulting, and some are in criticism.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm just trying to amplify in one of the early sessions that I chaired, an issue which came up. And I think the foundation of that is in innovation. It's the way our courses in the universities are organized, especially I know in Ghana, probably in Africa here, where you go in, you are going to do civil engineering, and every semester your 16 credit hours or 24 credit hours are only in civil engineering. And you don't have the freedom to probably take a quarter of your credit hours from a secondary course area where you still come out as a civil engineer, but you have a widened scope. So I think if we want to widen the thinking of our young men who come out of school, for example, my son graduated in chemical engineering. He did his national service in the hospital. He's still at home. He wants to be an entrepreneur. And when he was finishing national service and I was asking him, what are your work options? In his mind, he said, I don't want to work for anybody. And I said, but I don't see you doing anything that means that you can exist without working for anybody. But he's graduated and nobody has taught him how to work for himself. And probably if there were courses in the university that were on those lines, probably you'll still be doing chemical engineering and you have taken courses in business management or something also, just to give him that potential. So I think our educators should look at that. The second point, which is a small one, is how I developed as an engineer. Our president, Engineer Amoni Yangsin, got a few of us who were just 2 years, 3 years out of school. He started the Department of Urban Roads in this country. And he was about 8 years, 10 years our senior, but we were his deputies. And because of that, he accelerated our development. And we had a situation in which we went to meetings in the ministry, and if it's not there, we sat down with the chief engineers of Ghana Highway Authority, the chief executives, and we were just young men. And I remember Engineer Nunu would say, after all the discussion has gone on and we're quiet, then you quietly turn to us in a small voice and says, my small friends from Urban Roads, don't you have anything to say? and that was a way in which we were encouraged to aim and sit with people who we thought were not qualified to sit with at that time. So I think, again, in terms of motivation and trusting the young people that they can do, and we can put things in their hands to get done, like Engineer Ejepon just said, then we'll be pushing the boundaries of innovation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Maybe I wasn't here for the first part of the discussion, but so one thing keeps running through some of the presentations, and let me also correct it, that the students do a number of courses in the humanities and entrepreneurship and all those things you are talking about, they do them already. So it's not true that when we were in school, those things were not there, but now they do all of those things. So but the point is that sitting in an entrepreneurship lecture doesn't make you an entrepreneur, and I think that's very clear. We can debate that, but so because people have done MBAs and everything, they are not entrepreneurs. But let me also say that I think I don't know how you people define innovation, but doing the same thing differently is innovation. That's the basic, simple definition of innovation. Yes. So what it means is that you don't need a haircut to innovate, or you don't need all these things about people are cutting their hair. That's why we are killing innovation. I think it's neither here nor there. Also, wait, let me finish. Also, let's be careful, because we are making it seem that we are not challenged. What is more than poverty? What challenge as an engineer is more than your own poverty? If you want to innovate, you need government to tell you, are you not poor enough to innovate to solve that problem? Because in order to solve my own poverty, I have innovated. I developed BMMP for Highway Authority. Even the roundabouts they are doing. I forced myself into the project by asking them, come and show me what you guys are doing. Then I say, we can do it differently. I can bring my students. We'll give you 5 options instead of 1. Then we changed the way they were doing the thing. What do you need to challenge you again? Government is saying that we should create jobs. Long ago, the politicians told us long ago we should create jobs. What should they have to say again? So I think what we need to do is to take responsibility. Let's stop blaming the politicians. Let's stop blaming people. Let's stop blaming the educational system. Let's take the bull by the horn and say, look, every one of us here needs to rethink and do something better. Because, Engineer Dr. Bachi always says that individually we shine, but collectively we don't. Do you know why? Because it's like the blaster. Everybody plays number 6. Yes. Most of us, we work in teams where we shine because we work with other people. But we don't complement each other in many ways. Because I work with a lot of foreign consultants. You see that our students, our people play a part. And usually, you are playing a part in this data collection, I'm playing a part in this. But analysis modeling was done by somebody in Europe. So when we come together, we don't know how to model, but we are expert data collectors. So we need to actually, that's why I think that we need a good mentoring system. Because we have too many people who, yesterday we learned that we have transaction engineers and then we have dynamic engineers. Actually, many are lower than transaction engineers. Many of us are practicing far lower. Because when an engineer practices for 10 years and is very happy to be a data collector, he's lower than a technologist. An engineer who has practiced for 10 years has to migrate to the wider solving the big picture, not micro problems. I think the way our system is structured, and that's why I think we need to use the seniors to train the younger. Because sometimes, in an idea to find money, the young ones think that once you know how to solve a problem and get money, we hurriedly move. But the institution probably can help to guide the young ones to be properly mentored. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Enyanio Michael. I just want to throw more light on what Mom said about the challenge that we don't challenge ourselves. I don't think it's about the society. I mean, it's not about the government. It's not about where we are. It's about individually. I mean, I was just asking myself, I sit in an office whereby we can read the Euro code from page to page, ASTM page to page, ACI page to page. And personally, I feel shy and I feel ashamed when I'm on a round table with expatriate and I'm quoting Euro code, I'm quoting BS. I mean, I'm asking, the Ghana code we launched, which office in this place uses the Ghana code? I think it goes back to pride. I mean, what will make you not feel comfortable using a made in UK is pride. I mean, a Chinese will have overnight, will not sleep, just to create a version of the American made so that he will feel comfortable using his own as a Chinese. But then we talk about the system and about the system and about the system. I mean, we spoke about what Nkrumah did and what this did. Those were the days of the Pan-Africanism. That is dying, and that is why we are not going. There's no pride in us. And that was what Honorable, the Executive Director was saying. It's not about the government. It's about you. What are you doing as an engineer? I mean, do you feel ashamed when you are just reading ASTM back to back, Euro code back to back? I mean, what are we doing? You see, it's not like we are not smart. We can do it. Just that we are not challenged within. Thank you.
Hello. My name is Engineer Wendy McLaughlin, mechanical engineer and project management professional. So when the session started, I made about 8 points of suggestions, and about 6 of them has already been said. So the point is that we all know what we have to do. We all know what the issues are, and we all know what the solutions actually are. So the next question is, what are we in our own small ways, in our own offices, doing to make sure that these solutions that we have discussed here are being implemented? So that, because like the old adage goes, brighten your corner. If I don't do it, my corner won't be brightened. So we all have to do things in our own small ways to make sure that whatever we have discussed here is going to help us in our own institutions. Again, I want to ask that we encourage young engineers to think outside the box. Critical thinking is really important. One other thing I've also realized is that our old engineers are quite selfish with information and knowledge. Excuse my language. But I've come to realize that they are very stingy with information and knowledge. You find that, like Professor said, former president said, we are individually smart, but collectively we are incompetent. And that's true. Because you find out that somebody might be very intelligent, successful in whatever they are doing. For them to actually pass down the knowledge to younger generation is like literally drawing blood from their system. So I would encourage that the older generation would please try as much as possible to pass down their knowledge to the younger generation. Thank you.
Older generation, please, have you heard?
Yeah, thank you. My name is Engineer Harry Atamote. Yeah, what I want to suggest is that we are all talking about innovations, but I want to concentrate on funding. Funding, what I want to suggest is that within the engineering environment that we find ourselves, we can be able to form various cooperative groups and do contributions that will help us to be able to help people who have innovative ideas. In my own small way, I'll be able to organize 10 of my colleagues that we'll be able to come together. Every month, out of our salaries, we contribute some amount of money every month to be able to put up a business. And if, as an engineering body, we are so many here, we are even 200 here, if everybody can be able to contribute even 50 cities every month, we'll be able to put that into a funding that if anyone has any innovative ways or any innovative ideas, can bring it to the engineering institutions, and they'll be able to tap into that money and use it, which will end up bringing money to the institution. So we should be able to use these means to be able to raise funding for the institutions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So the suggestion is saying annual subscription should be increased for us to use to set up an innovation fund. That is, no, he didn't say that, but I'm saying that that is another way of looking at it. Instead of doing it in small groups, if we decide that subscription has gone up by 50%, then it will become the management of that fund, which will be a big wahala. So we'll prayerfully consider that suggestion. Last one before we go to the panel to give us their, please, our time is fast spent. There are still a lot of hands up. Our panel, 2 minutes each after 2.
May I suggest this? Thank you. The issue of innovation will really fall under 3 elements: creative thoughts, professionalism, and being ethical. I've been teaching ethics, and I realized that along the line, there are quite a number of the engineers who are unethical. They ask you to load maybe 10 trucks of sand to some place, and the loading there will be just 5. Meanwhile, he's the one going to sign the paper that 10 were brought. That's seriously unethical. So my suggestion is that if you really want to go forward in this area of innovation, let's have the creative thoughts. Going beyond, outside the box and creating, and then being professional in our approach and being ethical. That's what I would say.
Thank you very much. We'll come to our panel now. Please, our time is fast spent, and we have one more activity to go. So 2 minutes each. 2 minutes. Yes, Engineer Kwame Bacho will summarize, but I want 2 minutes from each of you. 2 minutes brief, just in order.
Okay. Thank you very much. I think it's been a very great discussion, but just 2 things that come to mind. The first one is something we call praxis. So what informs what we do all the time? Ghanaians like saying, oh, this one is too theory, it's too theory. Every time you don't apply a certain thinking to how you work, and it comes back to what Engineer Japan was saying about what common sense are we applying or what are we doing. So when we say theory, it's not what necessarily is in the book, but what thinking informs your practice. But more importantly, as we practice, what have we learned from our practice that comes back to reinforce our thinking or even change the way we think? And so if you want to be innovative, this is one of the things we should look about, and quickly to have a learning mind, a thinking and a learning mind. I think this is one of the things that we can use to help move forward the innovation. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Thanks for the various suggestions. And I just want to add that whatever we are doing, it should be driven by adding value to either the products, the processes, and that will catalyze innovation. And that should lead us as we move on in the 21st century that we find ourselves. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. My own contribution again relates to the attitude of those who are imparting knowledge for the next generation. And I think that we may need to revisit the way we do business in our classrooms. Now, quite often you find many of our colleagues going through the traditional way of teaching, i.e. a teacher-centered methodology. But I think we need to start looking at student-centered, because the internet has brought to the fore an explosion of knowledge. And if we are not current in terms of research and looking at the internet, we may enter a class one of these days, and the students would tell us the most current thinking, you know, and that can be quite a challenge. And again, lecturers need to see them, lecturers no longer need to see themselves as the sole custodian of knowledge. The knowledge is there. What we now need to do is to guide students in their quest for knowledge. And then the last thing I want to mention is that we need to look at methodologies which challenge innovative thinking in our students. Let us give them open type questions. For example, if you have a class in electrical engineering and you're looking at energy solutions, you can give them a village, give them the population and so on, and ask them to design a system for rural electrification. It's very, very open-ended. They would look at the sources, they'll come up with very different answers. And that will actually trigger the whole concept of innovation, thinking outside the box. Obviously, the theories would have been given, but then they would now find ways and means of applying those theories in a different way. And I think that is all part of this innovative thinking where we move outside the box. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I think I would say this forum would have been successful if by next year the Ghana Code is in draft form or it's disseminated so that we all know. It's been
launched.
Okay, so, but it looks like it's been launched, but it is not, it has not, it's not ubiquitous. So that's the question I'm asking, that it to be, I'll consider this discussion successful if by next year we will hear about the Ghana Code being used
by everyone.
By everyone. That is my conclusion.
To me, innovation is all about taking an idea to bring it into practice. And I think I've listened to some of the conversations that have gone on here. I understand the pride, but I think it's more about confidence. It's trying to get confidence in people to do it. Particularly, I heard the young lady at the back who was desperately asking for the older generation to try and help. And I think we need to have some kind of mentorship that people can bounce ideas around, because very often it's that lack of confidence. They know what to do, but don't have the confidence to do it. And if they could speak to someone that they respect or look up to as a mentor who just says, do it, maybe we'll see more innovation occurring.
Thank you very much. We want to thank our panelists so much. We'll take our wrap-up we'll take the closing remarks from Engineer Dr. Kwame Boakye. There is a form going around which has evaluation of the conference. A to E. I'm sure everybody knows that A is the best and E is the worst. We didn't add F. We didn't add F on purpose. And we also decided not to make it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because 1 to 5, somebody can decide 1 is the best or 5 is the best. But A to E, E cannot be the best. Normally it's 1 to 5, and it creates a confusion. Some people say 1 is the best, some say 5 is the best. But A to E, E cannot be the best. So we want to, the form is going around, we can be filling it whilst it's going around. Please, if it is stuck with you, please, it will be coming. There are more coming. We want to, okay, so our panelists, yes, you can please take your seats, and we invite Engineer Dr. Kwame Boakye. So you pick the form, tick, or you can write it in the remark box, or you can just strike A, B, A, B, A, B, A, B, please, C and D.
Thank you, Harold. I think we will all agree that we've had a very vibrant session with lots of ideas, and as somebody said, we need to capture these and actually make them actionable. I think it's not, So I'd like to just make a few, remarks, and I can't help but keep emphasizing that Ghana is going nowhere without engineering. And closely related to that, is a concept. You look around us, lots of individual excellence. But by any measure, we have group incompetence. That's why we are not competitive on the global level. And in fact, some people ask, what's wrong with you guys? In the US, every place you go to, there's a Ghanaian. Any place of repute, there's a Ghanaian. Then you say, but why isn't your country, moving up? Therein lies our group incompetence. And I think, we need to set a national, agenda of, making sure that we actually, consciously move our individual excellence. We translate that to, group, excellence. And for the GHIE, I think there are a few things. Some we've started, and some we need to, continue. Somebody mentioned that at least our constitution actually has now given us the opportunity to expand the scope of practice. Now, we don't just have professional engineers. As a matter of fact, you cannot have engineering with only professional engineers. It's important to have, technologists, technicians, craftsmen, and I think we really need to take that seriously. I think we are in the formative stages. In fact, last year we had a challenge even getting, Now, how many people in this audience are, technicians? We do obviously have a challenge. How many people are technologists? I think therein lies, clearly I think we need, to fix that. Come next year, it should not look, the same. Now, related, let us utilize Ghanaian expertise wherever it may be. And I think we've started doing some of that. As a matter of fact, a few weeks ago, we did induct a number of Ghanaian expatriates into the institution, and I think that should be the beginning of a trend. We should make a conscious effort. And in fact, I had a Greek friend, and in Greece, from what I understand, you can't even disown your citizenship. Once Greek, it doesn't matter what you do, you will always be Greek. You can go change your papers, everything. The minute you step on that soil, you are Greek. And I think maybe a little bit of that will help us in thinking. We need to strengthen our institutions. And I think this discussion, the kinds of interaction we are having with the various agencies certainly will help us. And let's continue with our evening lectures. The second thing is, let us institutionalize innovation. And somebody talked about reviewing the curriculum, to promote innovation. We need to promote documentation. And I think the professor talked about patent, publish, and profit. Okay. Prosper. Okay. And I think it all starts with the ability to document. We don't have a culture of documentation. And I think that is something that we need to. And as a matter of fact, our businesses, many of the problems relate to the fact that we don't document. In fact, we don't document agreements, so on and so forth. And really, I don't think there's a question about being proud of our own. We need to continue to be proud, and we need to promote local content. Now, in fact, as an aside, if we really need to promote local content, we should start with our names. We should start with our names. If you are called John, how do you turn around and say that, yeah, I think maybe that's where we should start, Yeah, so when we think about all these, please, maybe something, that is a mental state, okay? When you think of your John as opposed to, Kwesi or Efuya, I think it has an impact, that foreign is good, Anyway, then, we must insist on the local, content. Then finally, we need to create an environment for innovation. And a piece that didn't come up is we have to make sure that our industries are profitable. Without profitable industries, it's very, very difficult to support innovation. And sadly, a big part of it really has to do with the regulatory environment. In fact, when you look at our regulations, quite a bit of them are very punitive. In fact, look at GRA. GRA, they are going to go after the companies which are sort of struggling to come up. And they will kill them. And if you ask them, that's their job, to collect and kill the company. Is that what we want to do? So I think we need to, re-examine our regulatory regime, because quite often, in industry, the biggest factor is the regulatory regime. And of course, we need to, strengthen the academic industry linkage. Finally, I'll go back to my pet, and is we need to populate policy making with engineering. And I'll support my politician, brothers. I think you are on the right track. I think we need more people like you. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. Because nobody, you think the lawyers are going to stand aside and say, engineers come and take over? No, of course not. They'll find all kinds of legal loopholes to make sure that you don't. But let us not be deterred, because it is for the good of the country. If we don't do that, the next generation after me, we will still be talking about developing. And I don't think, we have too much talent, to remain in that field. So finally, I'd like to thank everybody for a very great session. And please go out with the message that engineering wins. Engineering promotes national unity. Engineering promotes national development. And without us, without engineering, not only Ghana, but the whole continent is going to continue to be a dark continent. And we don't want that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Engineer Dr. Kwame Boakye. When you were saying we should change our names, I started scratching my head. I'm also called Kobna. Mine is a fancy one, so it is K-O-B-I-N-A, not Kwabna like his own. And I remember former head of state of Africa, who had the longest name ever. When he became president, he was Joseph Mobutu. He took the same decision that the country's name was changed from Democratic Republic of Congo to Zaire, which was more, and his name became Mobutu Sese Seko Kuku Ngbendu Waza Mbanga, with Field Marshal in front. Field Marshal Mobutu Sese Seko Kuku Ngbendu Waza Mbanga. That was from Joseph Mobutu. But, Doc, what happened to the country after that one? Since I have the microphone and he's not going to talk again, I can challenge my senior on that score. But I'm going to revert to, I'll use my Kobna or my Ebo. That's a fancy one. It's nicer than the Kobna. From now on. So we have a very last session, brief one. If you look on our programs, we are launching our CPDs, our continuous professional development. And our chairman for training is going to give us highlights of what it entails, how we can get our CPDs, what all that it entails, and then after that, our president will give us the closing remarks for this session. We should be out of here in maximum 20 minutes. Master, please, I hope you won't talk too much. Honda CR-V, Navy Green, GS 8738Y. You are causing trouble outside, so if you can go and resolve it, please do that immediately. Engineer, Doctor, is your name short? They say I think you should speak short.
All right. All right. Thank you very much. Can you project the presentation? Yes. So my name is Engineer Dr. Kwesi Bodria Amwa. Kwesi Bodria Amwa Bekwin. So I'm no more Patrick. All right. Yeah, local content. And as the chairman of the Education and Training Committee, during the past year, we developed the CPD guidelines. And I'm just going to go through some few highlights as the MC said. Yeah, then just control it from there. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, let me use also the opportunity to thank my committee members for helping to develop. Yes, and those we took over from for the hard work, and also for council for approving this manual. Now, so we, just by way of definition, what is CPD? Is just considered anything that will help you expand your knowledge, maintain up-to-date skills, technical skills, and progress your engineering career. I think to be innovative, CPD, if I will borrow the Latin word, is a sine qua non for us to be innovative as we move forward. So the whole purpose mainly is to become updated, know what is happening within your profession, and also to become relevant in society. And above all, it's a requirement, or it's a constitutional requirement that by our new constitution, we all should have some CPD. Now, by our bylaws 6.11.1b, each professional engineer or engineering practitioner should have at least 18 PDH hours of CPD. So from now, you are required to have 18 hours CPD in a year. And we'll show you what is in the guidelines. And these are just the few issues. I'll not go through the benefits. We have some basic definitions. So if you don't understand anything, you just go to the definition section and it will tell you what it means. Then the sources for the CPD credits, the minimum requirements, and I'll go to the specific requirement. Those in red are those that I'm just going to just touch on briefly. Then we have the authorization of providers. So it's not only the institution that you can get CPD from, but you can get it from other institutions. And then how we keep records. Then the exceptions. Then when you fail to meet this CPD, then reinstatement of members, retired status, and also when you want to earn it from other countries, the requirement. All these are actually stipulated in the manual. Now, so what are the sources? These are the sources, but mainly attending conferences like this, at least I believe we will all learn a lot from this conference. So when you attend a conference, you also gain studying on your own, studying in a university, mentoring. I think one key issue that came up during this last section was the importance of mentoring. And by this, we are actually encouraging our older professionals to help mentor younger professionals. I'll talk about that again just before we close. And also writing articles, patenting, self-directed studies, and also even engaging in non-engineering activities like community service and all those things are encouraged by the CPD manual. Now, so as I said, these are the minimum requirements. You realize that for TPE, we've relaxed it now to 12. So even as a TPE, you are training professional engineer, you are required to have 12, and same for the technologists. But when you come to the technicians, it's reduced to 10, and the craftsmen is 8. All others remains 18. So I'll not spend much time on. Then, in terms of the specific requirements, now all these are in the manual. I'm just emphasizing some few ones. So, for example, conference. When it's a one-day conference, and then you're a participant, you gain 3 points. When you are a presenter, or you're a leader, instructor, or facilitator, you get 4 points. 4 credits or the equivalent credits. And depending on the number of days and all those things, these are there. But let me quickly go to the ethics workshop. The head talked about it. Now, it's very important. So you see that ethics is actually weighted very high over here. And we encourage all our engineers to be at least involved in one ethical workshop during the course of the year. Remember, we are getting to 18. So just then issues about mentoring. So we encourage mentoring in the institution, but we just don't say that mentoring. There are procedural issues in the manual that how you start mentoring and the process. And actually, we are going to develop a mentoring framework. So that will be by June, that will be out, and you know how to do mentoring. And when you go online, that will be there, and you inform the ED, and all those processes will be done. Now, another quick one is attendance of our annual general meeting. You actually now get CPD points for attending the annual general meeting. So that's a lot of points. You are talking about 7 points. Yes. So that is very important. Then participating in professional body activities. So during the course of the council year, we normally send committees out. We encourage each and every member to join at least one committee. And and when you join the committee, you actually gain per month. So when you attend committee meetings, you gain at least 2 credits per month. And these meetings and other activities, so for example, ED sends you to go to GAPOHA to speak. If that is sanctioned, you also get those 2 credits. So that has also been explained over here. Now, where do we move from here? And these are the processes. So we're trying to make it such that this system becomes a little seamless. And when you go to your portal, there is going to be a section where you can upload your CPDs. Okay? So apart from the ones that we'll do from institution, like attending this, which will be uploaded automatically. For example, if you are doing a self-study, maybe you're an electrical engineer and you want to learn about electromagnetism, something new. You inform, there's a process. So you inform the chair, and it goes through some approval system, then you start. This will be done online, through your portal. So you don't need to come to the institution to bring your certificate of completion and all those things are going to be done online. So we've started looking at the online system. I've talked about the mentoring framework because mentoring is going to be a key thing that we want to encourage, especially for our older generation, to help mentor the young people, and we'll develop that. Then, because we are starting from last year, we'll start uploading some of the CPDs also onto the online platform. And then we'll start going around to sensitize people, to show people, especially the online system, how to go about uploading and all those things. So the long and short of it is, this is something that has come to stay. It's a constitutional requirement. The manual will be online, so you can go through, and we encourage each and every member to partake in our CPDs and use CPD to develop and also to be innovative. I'll hand over to President to do the launching.
Yes, there's a comment in our earlier discussion which I want to put across. Putting everything on politicians, that we all have to be politicians before we can get things done. I want to bring your attention to what happened some time ago. I think it was around the 80s, 70s, 80s, yeah. The institution promoted one of our members in politics, and he became the vice president of the country. And during those days, whenever we had an engineering problem, and we go to him, I don't want to mention his name, I'm sure. Yes. We go to him, what he tells us is, now we're doing politics. No. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, now back to serious business. I think as professionals, we need to continue to educate ourselves, because the world itself is changing at a very fast rate, and we have to continue to educate ourselves. And one other thing I want to talk about is reading. We have to read widely. In fact, books, in other areas, so that we will be informed in some of the decisions we make. With these few words, I declare the CPD program duly launched. Thank you.
Thank you very much. President will be closing us also very shortly. But before he does the closing, we have a few announcements. Right now, GM 61514, there's a crane lifting something behind your car. If you don't move it now, it will move your car in addition. Mechanical, Agric, and Mining. All members from Mechanical, Agric, and Mining, the overflow room, please, you are supposed to go over there. And on this call, please, I have to make a big apology. We had people in the other room. In the overflow room. We had people in the overflow room, and they wanted to be part of the discussion. And we totally forgot and neglected them. So please, I know you can see me. We are sincerely sorry and apologetic for... Okay, ED is coming to apologize for you. The action here was so much. There were people here who were not able to contribute. So we are very sorry that we left you out of a lot of the deliberations. But I was also told there was a lot of WhatsApp in there. Who were part of it. Those who actually took part wanted to contribute, and we are very sorry that we're not able to get you to be part of it. Next, VRA takes what they do very seriously. We told you yesterday, that we're going to go on the MV Dodi Princess. They had to go through all the processes of certification, and the last certification has not come yet, as we speak. And so, yes, everything is fine. The engineers have certified it, but there's a certification, something from up there somewhere, and they want to obey the rules. So we cannot go on the MV Dodi Princess. However, there's an executive yacht which will be taking us on a ride. Executive yacht still on the... So this is going to be a joyride. I mean, if it was MV Dodi Princess, they're going to tell us the engineering way, how this was done, how it operates, and all of that. So that was not just a joyride. It was actually a technical visit. But now it's purely a joyride. We'll still go, apart from those who are afraid of. Fortunately, Edie is not here. The place he comes from, they are afraid of water. The rest of us those of us who come from the beach, we don't mind. Our forefathers were all fishermen, so we don't mind going on the sea. So we'll be going for the yacht ride. And then Akosombo is also happening, the tour to Akosombo, and then to the Kpong hydroelectric plants. Those ones are all happening. And tonight, in fact, tomorrow morning, we are still going to have our aerobics. We had a nice time this morning. I'm told the attendance was low because people did their aerobics last night with Kwampa and the live band. They had a real rollicking time. My eyes were half closed, so I was not part of it. And the others were doing Fayo, etc. So they missed out on the fun that was going over there. Today, yes, some people were dancing. In fact, they taught them how to dance Panlogo. Those who didn't know how to dance Panlogo. And there was, what's her name? Inene. Nene. Yes, a song was actually made for her specifically. The band used her name to make the song. And she went, and they actually sang also, is it Yoruba or Igbo? Igbo. So they sang a song in Igbo, and she actually performed for all of us to see. It was a wonderful time. This evening, the live band is by the poolside. By popular request, we have a live band again this evening by the poolside. So those who want to be part of it, you are invited. But it doesn't mean you should leave us out of the aerobics tomorrow. Tomorrow morning, we'll still be having our aerobics. We want to invite President to give us closing remarks. We are finished with our technical sessions. Tomorrow, we have our AGM. According to our constitution, AGM starts at 10 a.m. prompt. 10 a.m. we'll be here. ED doesn't like having a table here and all of, but for the AGM, we'll have a table here so that those who matter will sit over here, and then we'll go through our AGM. If you haven't voted, please vote by midnight today. Vote by midnight today. If you are here and you haven't voted, please vote by midnight today. If you have a problem, vote today. Don't tell us vote today. Don't wait till the last minute. We've had 2 weeks. It closes at midnight. Vote today. If you still have a problem, please go to the IT. They will help you to vote now. Thank you all very much. I think this conference has been amazing. We've never had a conference that closing session at this time, we have the room still packed and people are still here. Oh, we deserve a big round of applause, plus even the overflow room. Let's put our hands together as our president comes to close us. This is a semi-final activity before he hands over.
Well, for our closing activity, I'll call on the President-elect to come and give us a closing prayer.
Say I'm prayer secretary, but I have to obey my boss. Yes, sir. Okay, shall we rise? When we're in primary school, they'll tell you eyes closed. No hands up. So please, eyes closed. Heavenly Father, we are grateful to you for this wonderful conference. We're grateful to you for the gift of life. We thank you for the gift of food. We thank you for humor. We thank you for knowledge. And we're thanking you for colleagues and friends. Father, we pray that as we go back to our rooms, we pray that you speak to us and encourage us to be able to mentor the juniors and also to be able to seek knowledge, because you say your people perish for lack of knowledge. Father, we pray that also that tomorrow's AGM will be successful. And we are praying also that tomorrow shall be a wonderful day. Father, we ask that you would bless VRA so that VRA, who's were the gold platinum sponsors, Father, we thank you for the life of the chief executive and all who matter in VRA. And we pray that the days ahead shall be wonderful. We also ask that you bless the work of our hands so that we'll be able to let the world move in a better direction, because when engineers rule, all things go well. Because you, Lord, you are an engineer, because in the beginning of time, you created all things. And we thank you for that. And we, as your sons, are obeying you and being engineers. Father, we are praying that your hand shall continuously be upon us. And we thank you for hearing our prayer, because you're a prayer answering God. Thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you very much. Finally, we want to thank our sponsors. Volta River Authority, Volta River Authority, Platinum sponsor, Gold sponsor, Talo Ghana, Ghana Gas, other sponsors, Gridco, Bui Power Authority, Interplast, Cosmos Energy, Ghana Ports and Harbors Authority, Sanitation and Water Project, Golda Associates, Weber, Millennium Development Authority, Ghana. Thank you all very much for coming, and God richly bless us all. Wafio meeting at 7, same place as yesterday. Wafio meeting. Wafio meeting at 7 p.m. in Nunya. Wafio meeting, Nunya Conference Room, 7 p.m. The rest of us will be by the poolside with the live band. Thank you very much.